Hey, what's up, lively people? Um, so, I've had a couple friends tell me about the subject of NPCs. What do I think about that? First of all, NPCs stand for non player characters, and it comes from video games in which whatever character in a game, say on an adventure, that isn't the main character or a main obstacle to the main character. They pretty much just serve as sort of a messenger. They might say the same message over and over again, but they don't actually change the game's outcome in any way whatsoever. So, having said that, so NPCs, it doesn't resonate with me, the concept. I feel I can explain the phenomenon to a certain degree. Uh, a friend of mine pointed out that the concept of NPCs in spirituality before video games has never been really documented or brought up. So it's part. My friend identified it as mostly part of like the new age and within the last years, because that's as long as we know of that video games have been out. So there's a lot of problems I have with the NPC label. It's kind of like imposing hierarchy, as if a person can perceive what is better than, when there are better questions to be asking about what kind of creations are we actively creating. And the concept of NPC is a spell or magic or an art. All three of those things are the same thing. A program, that's the same thing. Those are all a sterile program that stops the perception of life, so it creates it. Similarly, how you hear in a law of attraction, be careful what you're creating, what you're magnetizing. That's not a concept that New Age or New Thought or Mesmerism, Frank Mesmer, came up with. It was a natural phenomenon that they observed. Programming video games is the same way in that it is showing you a natural phenomenon that happens in the universe. What is supposed to be happening when we navigate the field of video games or characters who can alter consciousness in the universe itself, it's supposed to expand our awareness and our consciousness in such a way where we take ownership of the character that is ourselves and how it connects to the creative energy, the creator, the great mystery, the whatever this all is. We have a link to it because we're made of the same substance. We are part of its body. We exist in that stratosphere. That is supposed to be an expansive experience, right? Whereas if you use sterile magic, if you say things that make it seem like people cannot be greater than they are or are lesser than they are, then that actually calls into reality exactly that. And it not only inhibits the individuals around them, but it inhibits the being within and limits. Here's a way of putting it. All creative magic, programming, art, consciousness, tinkering, adjusting, summoning, all of those things will have an effect that is expansive, that continues to happen like a verb. Like all things are a verb. They're always continuously happening. If we put a sterile spell on something, such as calling someone an NPC, a non-player character, the problem with that is we get exactly what we're creating, and we get an infinite feedback loop of something staying sterile and not becoming bigger than it is. So, okay, hopefully that makes sense to you, that all magic is infinite. It's just that certain cycles that seem unbreakable become that way as an infinitesimal thing because we summoned it into existence that way. We're not looking to break it. Creators who are lively and magnetic and artists who kind of shake us out of these loops that are sterile magic, they're not like a circle of life, that is more like a spiral. Or it doesn't even have to be size to represent expansion or consciousness. It might just be consciousness juxtaposed all around each other. You might have multiple spirals, all like kind of like frolicking around each other. The reason why this is important is because I see too many people creating sterile magics with their superiority complexes, and any superior complex has to do with invalidating others around you, rather than a true creator who brings beings and consciousness out of them, and they use that by reaching deeply into themselves and offering it to those around them, hopefully without being drained by people who want to seem that like they're better than them and take the credit from them. So that's exactly what I'm saying about non-player characters. A person who perceives someone else as a non-player character, they got something in their mind about what productivity is or what worthiness is, and it's very likely that they cannot see what the other person can. So addressing one of my friends' claims, it wasn't even their claims, they were talking about an article a man said, and he made a reference to Dolores Cannon, who discovered people with no inner dialogue. What do I think causes that? I could say it's like a virus. If you get into those sterile record-skipping loops, non-health or like bad health practices may keep reoccurring, so that it seems like impossible to get out of, like that is the best possible way. And that's also the problem with the belief that something is the best it possibly can be and anything else around it is lesser than. Because we'll never add more to that consciousness. We'll never create a new contribution, right? So yeah, I see it like viruses, things that can be created, and I have a real problem with when people say that they are scientists or more scientific or more logical. They're only familiar with maybe the basics of logic a little more than most people, but they are generally, when people say that, they have sort of a harsh criticism version of logic. Kind of like, prove it. If I can't prove it, it's not real somehow. That's very valuable, to have a critical mind, to kind of be able to kind of like what I'm using right now to kind of dismiss NPCs, right? But I wasn't entirely dismissing it. I was replacing it with something, the theory that might be a little more well thought out. It might be a bit more hopeful on my part. But it also might be why I'm put here, something I am creating actively, that I don't want to see a world with NPCs as if it's the end-all, be-all. I want to see a world where we have creators emerging more and more, people who are not allowing fear or productivity or commerce, even though I know a lot of money is being weaponized against us, pressured against us. You got these mega corporations who we have let get out of control. Obviously, they've used tactics to make that happen. But really, what I'm promoting more than anything is responsibility. If you see a person who isn't thinking for themselves and they have no inner dialogue, what did I do to create that in some way? Now, obviously, I can't take responsibility for everyone on the planet, but what I can do is put a message out there that is lively, that is creative magic, that has the passion, the force, the essence of something that might have been forgotten, lost, or never quite juxtapositioned to combine into something that has ever been done before. A lot of people say there's nothing original under the sun. There's really no proof of that. And original, the word within it is origin. A friend of mine was really trying to draw that attention to me. For some reason, I couldn't think of it. What's interesting about that is no one actually creates anything new. If anything, we are just putting a magnifying glass on creative power that already exists in this universe, multiple universes, whatever it is. And we're highlighting it like as a specific angle of fascination for some reason that we resonated with, and we were willing to take action to highlight it, maybe create a work of art that really demonstrates it. My concern with this culture now is we seem to have lost a capacity to understand excellence of art. Our generations have not been passing on knowledge very well. We can't blame, generations younger than us. Oh, they don't know this, they don't know, if we didn't pass on the knowledge to them. But unfortunately, also we have mega corporations and sort of like addictive platforms, social medias, lifestyles that have been really inhibiting our creative embodiments, our magical essence, us linking to the artist within and the universal artist principles, the magical principles that already exist in this world, and we could be a part of them, like an antenna, them sifting through us, and we sift through the parts of us that really interest us, and the parts of us that we're like, that's already been done before, I don't want to do it anymore. I don't like the sort of repeat behavior of things unless you're going to expound upon it, right? So this has been a bit of a circle spiral web of different thoughts, and it was meant to be a bit of inspiring. I very much value shaking someone out of their limiting beliefs. I need that myself. I treat others as equals in doing that with them because I do it with myself. But it's different than how someone else might be calling someone else an NPC. And yes, I'm denouncing the person calling them an NPC, but I'm doing it because it's a protection of the soul. It's not the same thing, as what I'm pointing out, is that sometimes we have to denounce denouncing energy, right? It's not even the same thing. It's not denouncing, you're protecting energy that wants to go home or multiple homes, and it's not getting there, right? So I'm hoping that this kind of gives you an excitement. I mean, what excited me about this video was I was watching some videos with Jonathan Blow again, the programmer, and I was reminded why I was excited to make video games in the first place, because not that I do now, but for many years I've played many video games. I became a musician, an artist, someone who draws, and someone who creates stories, much more so, but they're all linked to creating alternate realities that reveal to you how much more magical our real world actually is. And had we not created these other mediums, we would sometimes forget how unbelievable it is to be alive in this video game work of art world that we're in now. In this avatar flesh suit, we have a soul and a spirit that's navigating this environment around us. And how exciting it is for us to take that concept and put it into our art, breathing soul and liveliness and arts and creation into that to create a meta effect where the micro and the macro remind you that they behave the same thing. We get like that mirror effect, mirrors mirroring each other that create an infinitesimal verb forwards and backwards, right? So maybe this will excite you to find what it is about that within you that speaks to you and summon it into this reality, man. That is so much more interesting than trying to make anyone else seem like they're smaller than they are. You're trying to expand yourself. You're trying to expand this universe. You're trying to expand others. And it's not about expansion like commerce or capitalism or dominance in that way. It's more like generosity, right? Abundance. The real type of abundance is not always material, right? It's not always about expanding things bigger. Maybe it's about appreciating more deeply what is already here in the tiny, the seemingly mundane. Well, that's a fairly long video, but I think it's a great subject. Let me know what you think about this. Maybe throw in your own 2 cents, your own can of worms, whatever you like. And I hope you have a lovely, thankful, grateful day.